Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let's play a game. I'll give you four shapes, and I want you to choose one of them. Now, don't rationalize about this, don't try to be intelligent, just choose the shape that stays at the forefront of your mind, okay? You just find some connection for no good reason with that kind of shape, okay? First is circle, square, triangle, and Z letter. So we have a circle, square, triangle, and Z letter. Okay. How many circles we have? Please put your hand up if you chose circle. Don't be shy, by the way. Brothers, your hands high where I can see them. These are the only circles? Okay. Sisters, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Okay. Circles are by the way, there's psychological basis for this. Okay? So, trust me. If you chose a circle, and you didn't put your hand up, even those who didn't put their hands up. If you chose a circle, then you are a person who usually loves to change things. You love change. These are usually the leaders. They love to improve things. They are flexible about whatever is around, okay? So they're easy-minded. Who chose square? Square. Okay, more brothers than sisters. Okay, squares are people who are good with numbers. They're good with angles. Usually they grow up to be accountants, audits, and managers, hands-on managers. The scary type of manager. Okay, who chose nothing? Nothing, okay. Okay, triangles, put your hands up please. Triangles, put your hands up. The percentage is very low. Brothers, what's going on? Okay, now more triangles. Okay, that's scary. Sisters, triangles, that's scary too. Okay, triangles are people who are willing to make it to the top no matter what. In other words, I'll get there whatever it takes, even if it means moving people out of my way. Okay. Who are these Zs? Don't put your hand up. Don't let anyone see you. Especially your friends or your spouse. Okay, that was a joke. Zs, I was joking by the way. Zs is probably the best one. Yeah, now more hands are up. Yes. Z. Okay, anyone put their hands up twice? Okay, sisters, Z. MashaAllah, that's very good. Okay, more Zs among the brothers, that makes sense. Well, those who choose Z, their motto in life, I'll do it my way. And sometimes my way or the highway. Okay, this is a practical example. By the way, there is, as I said, psychological basis for this. So, okay, who didn't choose anything? Honestly, who didn't choose any of those shapes? Who didn't choose? If you didn't choose, there's also an interpretation for this, by the way. So put your hands up. Those who didn't choose? Okay, you're just too scared. Okay, there's psychological basis for this. Roughly, the research shows between 60 to 70% it really hits reality, and sometimes it misses. So it's not definitive, but it's a very good indicator. This is a practical example of a way to know more about ourselves. Ibn al-Qayyim has a beautiful statement, and he says this statement so often in his books. He says, and please mark this word, a person who doesn't know himself, a person who doesn't know herself, does not really know Allah. A person who doesn't know him or herself does not really know Allah. In other places he sometimes mentions, like with a small modification, he says, someone who doesn't know himself or herself, how could they possibly know Allah? That sounds a bit strange and a very extreme kind of statement. Now, I make a contention that if you truly don't know yourself well, you don't have a good relationship with Allah. You might think you have a good relationship with Allah, but truly if you don't know yourself well, and I'm making this contention and I'll try to defend it. If you don't truly know yourself well, your relationship with Allah is not in good shape. As simple as that. I'm so positive about this. I'm definite about it. Now, for carpenters, what's the raw material they deal with? Wood. Blacksmith. What's the raw material? Iron. A doctor. Human beings, human biology and physiology. Yeah? Would you go to a doctor who knows very little about human physiology and biology and medicine and drugs? I won't do that. Would you go, or would you get a carpenter to do some work for you who doesn't really understand so many things about wood, types of wood, what's good for what? You won't usually do this. The same applies to all professions. So for a carpenter to be a good actually handyman or craftsman, and for a blacksmith to do good pieces of work, and for a doctor to be a successful doctor, they need to know the raw material they're dealing with. Now my question to you is, as a human being that is traveling through this journey of life, what is the raw material for you? What is your raw material? If you have an answer, please throw it at me. What's your raw material? Huh? Knowledge? Your raw material is yourself. Allah has given you yourself, okay? You have control over yourself for a certain period of time. And you have to use whatever Allah has put in this self to make it to the highest rank possible in paradise and save yourself from the hellfire. So that's the story of life. Allah has given you a self, Allah has created a self and He has given it to you. He's entrusted you with it for a certain period of time. So you have to utilize it, use it, okay, as raw material and make a masterpiece out of it. So you will offer this masterpiece to Allah on the Day of Judgment, and based on it, He will give you your results. He will place you somewhere, either in the hellfire or in paradise with all the different ranks. So that's the raw material. So what do you know about your raw material? Let me give you a shocking fact. We know the people around us more than we know ourselves. We know our friends, we know our parents, we know our siblings, we know our children, more than we know ourselves. What a pity to live through life and the person you know the least is the person you live with the most, yourself. And it's not a joke. Truly, it's not a joke. And the reason is, our eyes face outward. So we know things about the world, but we don't see inside, we don't see within. And the hardest place to look into is yourself. So many people are scared to look into themselves, to find out who they really are. It's scary. And this is why people, so there are certain people, if they sit by themselves for 5 minutes, they just go crazy. They say, I have to listen to something, I have to watch something, I have to be with someone, I have to turn on TV, I have to check my email, I have to check Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. And if they sit for 5 minutes by themselves, they'll just go crazy. This is a very bad sign, that you can't even live with yourself, you can't spend time with yourself. Your best friend should be yourself. And if you're not friends with yourself, you're not doing well in your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One day a person came, how is this practical? A person came to Ibn Taymiyyah asking him a question. He had an issue. He said, I wake up at night and I don't know what to do with my time. I have three options. I can either pray Qiyam al-Layl, or I can read Quran, or I can just do random dhikr. I can just say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, Astaghfirullah, etc. So what is best? And I want you to listen to this answer from someone who really understands himself and understands human nature. He says, well, there's a general answer, a very general answer, but I'll give you a specific answer for yourself. The general answer is, he said, ideally, praying at night is the best of these three. That's the top of the list. You pray at night because within the prayer, you're standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are reciting Quran and you are making dhikr. So that's the best you can do. Second comes reciting Quran because these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're reciting the words of Allah. And third comes random dhikr. But if you are naturally motivated, you are more passionate about, or you find your heart more in reciting Quran, so you feel absorbed. Okay, you just find yourself there. You're so passionate about reciting Quran, and you really enjoy it. This is on top of the list for you. This is the best option for you. It's better for you than praying at night. And if you find your heart in random dhikr more than in reciting Quran and praying at night, then you should focus on this. That's the best option for you. That's the best route for you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's no general answer. What is it based on? It's based on understanding oneself. So how can you give yourself a fatwa here? Or how can a mufti or an imam give you a fatwa here? He needs to know you. This is why usually I have a problem with fatwa shows on TV. People, truly, people don't need fatwa, people need advice. Because if you give a fatwa to the wrong person, it's basically the mufti or the imam usually gives a fatwa based on his understanding of himself or his assessment of the situation. But he doesn't have all the details. So he's going to give you what he feels is best for himself. He's making analogies, thinking you are similar, but people are completely different. Allah created us different. Allah wanted us to be different. Allah wanted our ways to Him to be different. Well, the way to Allah is, yes, one, but it has so many lanes. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. The ones who strive in our ways, or who strive for us, or for our sake, we shall guide them to our ways. He didn't say way, He said ways. Because, each one is different. Allah doesn't want us to be like mass production kind of thing, yeah? We're all similar. We're not robots. Allah has put something different in me than He puts than the things that He put in you, in her, etc. So we're completely different. If you don't recognize your raw material, you'll try to make probably create a bridge for cars with wood. And usually it doesn't work. You need iron here because you know the raw material, you know what it's used for. So you might actually mimic your shaykh, your imam, or someone you admire, and you try to be like them, and you think that's the best investment in your relationship with Allah. But actually you're setting yourself up for failure and maybe to the hellfire. So scary. And there are so many examples you see of people who've been righteous, who've been practicing, especially the young brothers, like 5-10 years, they're practicing, they're hardcore, they're praying the 5 daily prayers in the masjid, and they're all doing dhikr all the time, and they're so strict about certain things, so meticulous about their implementation of something, and all of a sudden, they flip. They don't want to pray anymore, they don't want to come to the masjid anymore, and some of them actually leave Islam. I've seen people who have completed Hifz al-Quran, they Hafiz, yeah? And they gave up Islam altogether. They gave up Islam altogether. Why? Because they didn't recognize the raw material So they were trying to do something that was suitable for someone. So basically they were walking around in borrowed clothes. And most of us fall in this. You're trying to be like probably your mother or your father or your local imam or the mufti or the certain da'iyah who's so attractive and so probably charismatic, and you think, wow, that's what I want to do. But maybe Allah created you for something else. The Prophet ﷺ said, كُلٌّ مُيَسَّرٌ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ. Each one will be facilitated or will find his way easy and will glide easy into what he was or she was created for. So Allah designed you for something. Don't try to do something that Allah designed for someone else. That's ungratefulness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-wise. He's Al-Hakim. And Al-Hakim, or wise, wisdom means putting everything in its right place. Everything. And doing things on purpose. So everything is purposeful. Like a leaf that falls of a tree. Here in Durban, in South Africa, at a specific moment, was designed to grow at that specific branch and fall at that specific moment on a specific spot and disintegrate into its basic ingredients. And all of this was written 50,000 years before the creation of the heavens and the earth. And Allah designed it for a purpose. The very breeze you smell or you inhale at a specific time was meant for you specifically and for a purpose. It's not random. The water that you drink, water molecules that you happen to drink were designed to be yours and for a reason. We don't know what it is. Allah's wisdom is way beyond our capacity to grasp. Because Allah doesn't do things randomly, by the way. Nothing is random, no matter how minute it is. Everything is purposeful, Allah designs. So the way Allah made you, your makeup was not random. Was not random. Allah created you and gave you that kind of psychological, physical, mental, emotional makeup for a reason. And Allah made you or designed you to be born into that family for those parents, among those siblings, for a reason. It's not random. So we live in an ocean of wisdom, but we just don't realize. We want to be someone else. You see someone who's succeeded, someone you admire and like, oh, I want to be like that. You might not state it with your tongue, but you actually, you desire it in your own heart. I want to be like that person. But Allah already has a plan for you. He designed something for you, and He gave you all the basic ingredients for it, and He gave you the time. So all you need to do is manage those ingredients and create a good product and present it to the world. But be authentic. You need to be authentic. Most of us are not truthful to ourselves. We're not truthful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And do you want to know what's your way to Allah? Do what you love. Wow, that's a taboo, yeah? Islamically, this is a taboo. If you're enjoying, what you do for the sake of Allah, there's something wrong with you. It has to be hard. It has to be something that you truly suffer with, something that drains you, something you don't love doing. Oh, that's what Allah loves. No, that's not what Allah loves. When Allah designs you to do something, you'll find your heart in it. You'll find yourself, you find you have so much passion and drive towards it. When you engage in it, you'll just forget the whole world. You'll feel paradise on earth. One question. Khalid ibn al-Walid, radiyallahu anhu. Who's Khalid ibn al-Walid? Let me check. Is he a designer from South Africa? Okay, Khalid ibn Walid, yeah, the companion, the military leader. How many ahadith from the Prophet ﷺ Khalid ibn Walid narrated? He lived for about 3.5, 4 years with the Prophet ﷺ, very close to him. How many ahadith did he narrate? Anyone has a clue? How many ahadith Khalid ibn Walid narrated? In the books of hadith, some researchers, did the investigation and they found only 3 hadith. So why didn't Khalid ibn al-Walid narrate more hadith from the Prophet ﷺ? Because what? Why was he busy in the military and fighting? He was the best man to do this. Jazakallah khair. Khalid ibn al-Walid realized that he wasn't designed, he wasn't created to be a person of knowledge who would carry the knowledge and convey it. He realized his capacity, his strength. He has a bent for military expedition. He was a military commander. So for him, he realized this was the fastest track to paradise. And by capitalizing on his strength, what he has a head for, he would secure a higher level in paradise than if he had spent his time studying with the Prophet ﷺ. It would have been good, but that actually was better, and that's what he chose. So he didn't narrate so many hadith. He just happened to narrate 3 hadith because he was there. He happened to be there. He narrated them. But what did he do? He invested his time. He understood what Allah made him of. He understood what material Allah has created him of. He realized what Allah put in him, and he made the best investment. Allah describes our relationship with Him in the Quran, our relationship with Allah in the Quran as tijara, business. We're doing business with Allah. Like if I tell you, if you go into the business of computers, okay, the revenue or the net profit you're going to make will be probably, or the return on investment will be 20%. But if you go into, for example, human development, the return on investment will be 70%. What would you choose? Both are open for you. You choose the 70%. That's the logical conclusion. And if you choose the 20% for no good reason, you just made a bad decision. You're going to put probably more effort and more time and more investment, but the return will be less. So that's not a wise decision. So most of us actually do this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we don't know who we are. We don't check the numbers. We don't find out what's the return on investment. Khalid ibn Walid realized that the biggest return on investment by investing his time and his talents would be in military expedition. That's exactly what he did. He figured out what kind of person he was, what was he made of, and he actually capitalized on this, and he made it. He became Sayfullah, the sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In contrast, Abu Hurairah, have you ever heard about Abu Hurairah taking part in a battle? He did, but he never stood out in this regards, because it wasn't his business, it wasn't his area, it wasn't his strength. But he realized his strength was in learning the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, memorizing it and teaching it to people and spreading it, documenting it. So he made a very wise decision. Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu was the same thing. So the companions of the Prophet ﷺ understood well what was best for them. They understood their material, their fabric. They realized what that was, the raw material. And they made masterpieces with their lives. And we are supposed to do. Khadija did exactly the same. Khadija was exactly the same. She knew what kind of person she was. One day after the death of their son Al-Qasim, obviously Khadija gave birth to Al-Qasim, the first son for the Prophet ﷺ, boy. And a few months later, the Al-Qasim passed away. Khadija as a mother felt for her son. And she just said to the Prophet ﷺ, expressing her own emotions, she said, I really wish he could have stayed with us for 2 years until I'm done with breastfeeding him. The Prophet ﷺ said, he will be breastfed in paradise. That's the plan for him. And I can ask Allah, and Allah can show you that now. Allah can give you a glimpse into paradise, and you see how your son is being taken care of. She said, no, I believe in that. She wasn't demanding. She wasn't demanding. She realized that she could actually do all the work behind the scenes. This is why she didn't appear in public. She wasn't really celebrated for everything she did and all that stuff. because she realized she didn't have that love for attention and for recognition. So she made the best of what she had, her wealth, her character, and her influence, and her sense of initiative, and she used that perfectly. She made excellent use of that, and she helped the da'wah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Knowing oneself is probably the sweetest journey you can ever take. Don't live someone else's life, because if you do this, you'll be ungrateful to Allah. Allah has given you something. Allah has designed, imagine Allah has designed something specifically for you, specifically tailored for you. Okay? Imagine someone has gone out of their way and went to like the best tailor in the country, and they've designed some clothes specifically tailored for you, for your size and for your taste, and specifically for you. Yeah? And then they offer you that kind of uniform or dress or clothes, and you take it and you keep it at home, you don't use it, or you give it to someone else, and you go and wear some clothes that were tailored for someone else. How would that person feel about this? If I give you some perfume that I really think that you like, you take it and you go and give it to someone else, or you don't wear it at all, I'd feel something in my heart. So what about Allah has given you yourself? He's designed it in a way specifically for you. That's unique. No one is like you. Allah has designed you so uniquely, okay, for a reason. And He's given you this self to make the best you can do with it. And there is so much potential you can do. And then you take someone else's example, someone else's raw material, and you think that's for you. You go ahead and follow that example. So this is the reason sometimes you might say, oh, I want to pray Qiyam al-Layl. You do it for a few days, for a few weeks, then you give it up. Why did you do this? Because you don't know yourself. You're trying to push yourself into something that you're not ready for. So you're not in touch with yourself. Yourself always gives you feedback. It's an organic, active entity. But we usually suppress it for the sake of the norms. We usually suppress it for other people's opinions. We usually suppress it for other people's tastes. We want to appease other people. We want people to accept us, admire us, approve of us. Allah approved of you. You don't need people's approval. You don't sell yourself for a cheap price. How can you do that? Most of us are guilty of it. Be what Allah designed you to be. Be true to Allah's gift. Be true to Allah. Find out who you are. Imagine someone, their father passed away and he was a rich man, and their like share of the inheritance was a small house. And his father said, I left you something in the house that is special for you. So he searched in the house, and what he found, this old dusty box. It looks so dirty, old, okay, worn out, nothing's really, it doesn't seem to be a great thing. May Allah forgive my father. Why did he leave that thing for me? I thought it was something better. 20, 30 years passed by, the person was on his deathbed, about to die. Then out of curiosity, he just wants to, he says, I've never opened this box, okay, so let me try. So he tells his young son, go and open that box. So he wasn't really grateful for his father because he thought his father didn't really give him something special. His son goes and he opens the box, and lo and behold, it's gold. It's full of gold. It's a treasure. This person is on his deathbed. On his deathbed. How would he feel? He's never been thankful to his father because he had this treasure, but he actually never had it. Allah has put in you a treasure, but you never bothered opening that box and finding out what Allah has given you. But you're looking at what other people have, what other people possess. Can I take extra 2 minutes? Okay, something just occurred to me. It's a symbolic story I heard a few years, about 15 years ago, and it changed my life. Truly changed my life. There was a man in a poor country. He got married and he realized he couldn't really support his family financially. I'll just try to cut it short. So he went to another country to work as a laborer, hard work. So he put a plan. He said, I'll go and work hard for 10 years. I'll save some money. Then I'll go back home, open a small business and survive and provide for my family and rest for the rest of my life. He goes, he works hard. A couple of times during the year, he goes back to his family by sea because he can't, it's hard for him to afford the ticket or the plane ticket. 10 years later, it's time to go back home. So what he does, he transfers all the money to his family. He keeps a small amount that is enough for the ticket by sea, and just to buy little, some gifts and some food on the way. He goes and buys the ticket, and for his surprise, the price has gone up exponentially. So he says, why is this price? They said, that's the price. You want it, take it. You don't want it, just leave it. So he said, okay, I have no other choice. And the ticket actually consumed almost all of his money. He had left only just little change left. So he goes on the ship, on board, and first day, what he does with the rest of the change, he buys some food cans and some biscuits just to survive. Just to survive. Nothing really, it's not even healthy food. But he said, okay, it's like a 10-day journey. I just need to survive. I'll eat biscuits and tinned food and I'll be alright. So he goes to the upper deck and he sees people going into the restaurant and eating the best food. And he would torture himself just staring at them, seeing them munching that food and enjoying it. And to his dismay, he'd go to his cabin and eat these biscuits and for 10 consecutive days. On the last day of the journey, he says, well, I've got very little change. So what I'll do, my family will ask me, how was your trip? How was food, during the trip? I don't want to lie, so at least I'll just get a taste of what was in the restaurant. So I'll choose the cheapest dish on the menu. So he walks in, and the waiter sees him and he says, oh, sir, I haven't seen you before. He says, no, I've been here for the last 10 days. Obviously he's got an